What's going on, everybody? I am like rolling into here a little bit late tonight, but I had to do it because I'm here with a good friend of mine, Mr. Jon Peters. John, how are we doing tonight?
How's it going, man?
It's doing pretty well. It's been an interesting couple of weeks around here. We both live not, right next to each other, but semi close. And first off, weather can't make up its mind, so my body is like revolting at the moment.
Yeah, it's rough.
I keep having to clear my throat like every 4 minutes, and god dang do I hate that.
Yeah, it's been rough.
Speaking of,
it's not.
On top of that, we are tonight going to be ending our conversation talking about extreme horror. So to celebrate, I've got a little margarita for the first time, drinking something on camera for the first time through all of this. Guys, John is amazing. John is a patron, friend of the show, friend of mine. Met him in person earlier this year. It was a wonderful time.
I think I was your first.
I think so. I definitely think so. Before we get into announcements, we're going to cover a whole bunch of stuff. Like, first of all, who is Jon Peters and why are you here? Like, why physical media? Why is that something you're into?
Physical media has always been part of my life. As from a little boy, me and my uncle collected comics. So the world of collecting was always inhabited in my head,
Nice.
Keeping stuff nice, keeping stuff organized. When you get older, you start collecting more expensive comics, action figures. And then, throughout movies, VHS, I'd say by the time I was like 12, I think I was like complete on Jean-Claude Van Damme VHSs. Bruce Lee, and then, then you start recording stuff off of pay-per-view, HBO, you start organizing it. And then DVD came around, 99, 2000, and just exploded from there. I don't think I've ever stopped, much to maybe my parents and ex-wives and girlfriends' chagrin.
Yeah, I've gone through that cycle a few times. I'm curious, at what point did you realize, like, I have a collection? It sounds like you may have sought out to do that from the very beginning, but was there a point where you're like, okay, damn, I really got to take care of this stuff because now it's important?
It was always like that. I don't know if I should tell the story, but
tell it.
I broke up with the fiance in my 20s, and it was a real bad fight, and she got mad at me and tipped my collection over. And I called my mom over to help me move out, and she tore her ACL helping me move my physical media collection out at that night. So that's how important the stuff always was to me, because I think we go through phases in what we collect. We go through like mainstream stuff, and then we find some sort of subgenre niche and stuff. But I mean,
right.
It's my thing. Don't tip it over.
Well, through families, broken and intact, physical media seems to always be there. I would agree with you. Tonight, we're going to make it all about family, ranging from mothers tearing their ACL to we're going to be talking about a Serbian film and how family plays into that. That was a terrible segue. But he even brought the goods, wearing a t-shirt of a Serbian film. Love that. We are, like I said, going to be talking about extreme horror and why it's a thing, why it's something that we watch, and what exactly is the point behind it. But first, we got to do announcements, but that's not even the special part. John being here is the special part. So, getting into your collection, you got any recent pickups you'd like to share with the group?
Yeah, if you follow Ryan's Patreon, you've probably seen a few of these, but House of Psychotic Women seems to be the set everyone's talking about and getting, and I'm one movie in, and it's pretty awesome.
Which one did you watch? Identikit?
Yeah, it's the cover art. It's Elizabeth Taylor. Yeah. It's Andy Warhol makes an appearance in it, so it's a pretty wild movie to start off on.
It's a good first choice.
Then, speaking of Severin, I got a little bit more of their October titles.
Nice.
My Grandpa's a Vampire, aka Grandpire, aka Moonrise. It's pretty cute.
Wait. Was it actually called Grandpire in one of the releases?
In Canada.
I did not know that. Okay, that's fantastic. Grandpire.
Al Lewis is a hoot during it.
Yeah.
It's kind of a great film. A good family film. probably one of the better Severin kids to like
Nice.
introduce kids into being a gateway horror. And then all right, I can't get that camera there. Changeling 4K.
Changeling 4K. Nice.
It's one of the. I'm not a big ghost movie fan. I don't know why. Ghosts are a staple of horror, and I'm just like, eh. It took me a long time to get into the Conjuring films after so many friends begged me, you gotta watch them.
Right.
I'm just not into ghost stuff. I don't know why, but Changeling, real good. George C. Scott.
It's one of the better ones for sure.
Do you have that ball that Severin made for their Blu-ray release? That thing
I
could
do, yeah.
kill someone.
It is. It is hefty, and it's not something that they advertised. It is a legitimate like ball. That thing is heavy. It is
I don't think
dense.
it bounced. I think it just.
That's a good question. I don't think I've tried to bounce it, but yeah, I've got it right now. I'm staring at it directly across from me on my top shelf. It is being straddled by the knees of the anthropophagus plush, eating his guts. Yeah, that's my severed shelf right next to Uncle Jess, the tree topper, right next to it.
You have the tree chopper of Jess Franco.
I've got the Jess Franco tree topper, even though I don't love Jess Franco.
We argue about them in Discord all the time.
All the damn time, yeah. I mean, there's some Jess Franco I've liked, some that I haven't liked, and either way, I respect the hell out of him. He is prolific, like crazy. Yeah, Franco's got a weird.
I mean, there's a few that don't hit for me, but once you vibe them, it's like live jazz music. You know, it just kind of flows, and you're just into it.
Especially when he was literally a composer on some of these that Severin put out.
Yeah. And then some Al Adamson. I didn't get the box set, so I was kind of happy for this. The Compy is the documentary.
Yeah, that documentary is fantastic.
Yeah, it's one of the best ones they've ever done.
That's some decent pickup. Severin has been picking it up lately, the last month and a half or so. It's pretty great.
Yeah, I think they had like a bottleneck with production on some of their stuff, and then it's been an explosion of all their titles at once.
The fact that Steckler and the House of Psychotic Women basically shipped at the same time is kind of crazy when you think about it. Now he's going to show the Steckler set. Yeah. Awesome. I've not checked in with everybody tonight. What's going on, Ragnar? Glad you're here. Josephine got a promotion at the library. Congratulations. Going to be teaching writing lessons for the adult special needs group. That's great. Anthony, Asuda started the show for you. Congratulations. Video. This is a very funny typo, I think. Wait, I need to pie first. Not pee, but pie. Video man, and I hope you enjoyed your pie. Terry's here. What's going on? By Fur to Hobbit. Hello. Eric, Antoine, Sean, Bren, Dave, all my good friends, John DeMarsico, Quiet Rob, we missed you last week. Glad you're back. Maximus, who constantly duels with John in the comments in the Discord. Mitchell, you're good. You weren't that late. I'm happy you're here. There's Cam, just coming off a fresh John argument recently, I'm sure. Ragnar brought up August Underground. That's a good one that we'll probably talk about a little bit tonight. Let's see. Not big on ghosts, although I will always trust Scooby-Doo. How can you not? Ken Carlson, what's going on? All right. So we talked about recent pickups. What about some major recent watches? Because you've had I don't even know the proper way to say this. A metric fuck ton of them in the last 2 months is probably the best, most technical way to mention how many you've watched.
Yeah, it just seemed like things were lining up where I could do such a watch list.
Right.
2017, I had a personal issue, and I literally only watched like 2 or 3 movies that month, and I just vowed vengeance ever since then. And so everyone does a Halloween watch list, one a day, or I don't know, whatever someone does. But I decided to start mine September 1st.
What today? What were you up to? 80, 87 or something like that?
I'm looking right now. 86 movies and 2 TV shows.
Jeez. Yeah, you're a little better off than myself. That's pretty damn great. So what has been the last few for this week?
I just watched a lot of stuff. The Third Eye out of this, the Italian Gothic set from Arrow.
Yeah.
Third Eye was real cool. It has a very young Franco Nero doing a Norman Bates type thing. If you read my review in Discord, it's actually the movie that Joe D'Amato remade for Beyond the Darkness. He just,
okay.
Joe D'Amato did up.
Sleazed it up, yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Yeah. I've been tackling a lot of Mexican horror.
Yeah, that's been a highlight to read from you this year.
Yeah, 7 or 8 titles. They've been really cool. Lately with physical media, Asian films have been the stuff that a lot of companies have been going after, and rightfully so. The stuff's amazing. I mean, I grew up on that in my college years as well,
Right.
but I just really wanted to put my compass to something that I was kind of blind to this year. And I did a lot of Mexican stuff. The Witch's Mirror was real crazy spectacle. Black Pit Dr. M is great. Phantom of the Monastery, one of Mexico's, I think, second talking horror film. Yep. I could be wrong on that, but that was real good. Real good.
If anybody wants to look for any of these titles, I believe they were under the Casa Negra line, right? And Synapse
yes.
put them out.
Yes, Casa Negra DVDs are still relatively in stock, except for 1 or 2 you might have to pay $40 to $70 on eBay, but most of them you can still get a Grindhouse and Diabolic for like $10, if that.
Nice. Yeah, a lot of those were printed like more than 10 or 12 years ago, so they've gone very far down in price. And I would not be surprised if Mexican horror started making like one of the trends that started getting good HD prints in the next couple of years. And it seems like Indicator kind of leading the push on that a little bit. And
yeah, they started off with 2 of them. They're real good.
Yeah. If we could see something like Mondo Macabro get one in there, then I could see some more getting some big attention. Sardis wants to know anything other than horror on Casa Negra, or is it all horror?
No, they just focus strictly on Mexican horror. I think they did about 8 titles, and that was about it.
8 titles, crazy. Speaking of Mondo Macabro, Ragnar says, don't forget they have a Halloween sale this weekend. That is correct. We will probably be bringing that up just a little while tonight. Eric just got done with Bodies, Bodies, Bodies right before the stream. I'd love to hear what you think, Eric, because that's one a lot of people just let pass by this summer, but I think it's one of the best ones out there. So you're collecting. How do you determine what to purchase next, other than what money limits to? Because I know that there's a lot of interest that you have.
Yeah, that's the the thorn in the side of us, right? We're pretty open-minded. I think most people are open-minded if you're still collecting physical media in 2022. Right. I mean, if you aren't, I mean, you still have your choice of a lot of stuff, right? A lot of different labels focus on a lot of different things, pick your poison because you'll be happy regardless. For me, it's, I don't know. It's like I just spin the wheel and it's like, yeah, get the newest one from Arrow, get the newest one from Severn. But I focus on Severn. I like Euro horror, always have. Once I discovered it in my late teens, college years, it just popped for me. It was the lurid titles, it was the colors, it was the music. I didn't know what was going on back then, but through time you learn more and you watch them over and over again. And so Severn hits my spot a lot. Mondo Macabro, just for blind buying oddities. Can't go wrong with any of those.
That is too true. I completely agree. Mondo Macabro pretty much hits everything out of the park. Hard to argue with any of their discs because they are either obscure or well-known underground and usually fairly hard to find. And now that they're putting them out, it's just, oh my gosh, ripe for discovery, ready to go. But you mentioned Euro horror, and I think it's time that I talk about my most recent watch, which is pretty damn cool. And that's last night I got to see Suspiria on the big screen at a theater here in Kansas City. And the thing that made it extra special, other than seeing a 45-year-old film on the big screen, Claudio Simonetti brought Goblin along and played the score live along with it. And man, if that tour is coming anywhere near you and it's not sold out yet, and I'm sure it will, because like Kansas City did 2 nights and both nights sold out. So if it is, everybody should be seeking that out. I believe they're playing most of the U.S. over the next like 8 weeks. I think Kansas City was the first stop on the tour. and it was kind of amazing. The score played with the movie itself was good. Obviously, it's in a little theater room. Not little, of course. It's like a 200-person theater, but it was loud, a little overwhelming. But with the film like Suspiria, which is already very in your face colors wise, now it's in your face colors wise and on the ears. So it was a little bit of sense overload. But even then, it is such a better experience to have it just going into your veins like that. And then I thought it was decent, but then Goblin stayed after and played for another full hour. They played,
nice.
They played Phenomena, they played Tenebrae, they played a couple of originals that they've got. They've played a 3-track like medley from Dawn of the Dead, which was great. They kind of killed it. It was so great to see Claudio Simonetti still doing this in 2022. Yeah, completely worth it. It was fairly cheap here, and from what I can see everywhere else, it's not too bad. Around like $50 to get in for the movie and the show. But then they're doing this crazy VIP package too, which gets you a couple pieces of merch and then a meet and greet with them. So you pay for the show, and the VIP upgrade is like another $125 on top of that. I personally couldn't see paying almost $200 just to see Goblin play with Suspiria and get a VIP thing, but hey, if that's exactly your thing, go all for it. It's pretty dang cool.
Yeah, that sounds amazing. Was it the 4K scan of Suspiria?
I believe it was. It looked like it. The only thing that I did not love is, of course, they played the English version they played the dub rather than playing the OG and subbed, of course.
Of course.
Anyways, like I said, we are going to be talking about extreme horror tonight after our announcements, but that means first we should probably get into these announcements. And we got a whole lot of stuff to talk about. First one up, right after our show last week. Like I was still on camera talking to Bob last week when this got announced. December 15th, we are getting the first 4K from Imprint Films. It is The War of the Worlds, coming in a 4K steelbook with a lenticular hard case on it. And this is kind of cool because it was the first Imprint title as well. So now it's also their first 4K. I completely saw this coming because Paramount's obviously putting out in 4K here in the States. War of the Worlds, you into any of the older sci-fi stuff too?
Yeah, I grew up on that. My when I was younger, my parents, worked day jobs, so they sent me over to my grandparents, and my uncle would come over and be like, "Hey, let's watch War of the Worlds or This Island Earth or something." So yeah, this stuff's mainstay of my childhood.
Yeah, this is obviously a great capstone film for a lot of people. Glad they're putting it out. Unfortunately, because of some of the pockets of this hobby, the moment it got announced, people are complaining about the color thing that came up after the 4K, that Mars was bluish or whatever. So we'll see. I mean, on that argument, I don't even know who's right. Supposedly, the original cut was actually kind of blue and not red. So if that's what they meant, like I'd rather see the original intention.
I think it's in our heads because Mars is the red planet.
Right.
But if it's the original tint that had the blue tint, unfortunately, that's what it is.
Right. Quiet Rob is going to see Suspiria. Nice. Terry wanted to bring up another cool element of Mexican horror of the early era is their love of blending horror with other genres. And I believe, which one is that? Was it the Phantom of the Monastery? It's got like a romance story weaved into it, I think.
Yeah, it has a lot love triangle in it. It's like a husband and wife, and then it's like his brother. It's really weird.
Yeah. By Fur to Hobbit, anybody watching 101 Best Horror Scenes at 8-episode series on Shudder? I don't know. Have you kept up with any of that on Shudder?
I watched the first episode, and then I got sidetracked with my watch list.
I was pleasantly surprised. I think I'm on episode, like I'm fairly caught up. I think I need to watch last week still, but it is surprisingly deep cutty. Usually with series like that, they're like, oh my gosh, The Exorcist is the scariest film ever. Next up, one you haven't heard of, The Blair Witch Project, and it's not like that. It is like
I did hear that.
Really, really good deep cut films, which is nice to see. I'm into that. Let's go to the next one, which is, of course, one of the easy ways to stay up to date in this hobby, and that's with sales. Barnes & Noble holding their fall Arrow video sale. Everything is half off of the MSRP right now in stores if you're lucky enough to have some Arrow titles in stores, and then online as well. So you can get the brand new Gothic Fantastico set. I think that's $50 right now, which is a pretty great deal for a brand new release.
Yeah, I couldn't pass it up.
And then Count Yorga was down to like 28 or 32 or something like that. Ridiculously cheap. I gotta look into that more. Speaking of looking into this more, a lot of people have looked into David Cronenberg over the years and realized we are only missing one film on Blu-ray, and now we are finally getting his last feature-length film. We are getting Spider on Blu-ray from Sony Classic Pictures, or Sony Pictures Classics, in December, on the December 12th. We are getting a commentary on this from the man himself. We're getting a few featurettes. It's not a boutique, but Sony always puts out great stuff. I'm sure the scan will look good on this. Cronenberg, where are you at with Cronenberg? Happy with him?
Yeah, I think he's top tier. Me and my uncle were talking most of this year about Cronenberg, just in general, since Crimes of the Future came out in May or June. And yeah, it's real hard to list a top 5 Cronenberg because he probably has like a top 10 that could easily be everyone's top 5.
What before we go on, what do you think is his most underrated film?
Oh, jeez. Shivers. I know that sounds stupid, but a lot of people dismiss it because it's one of his earliest ones.
I'm going to throw out there Dead Ringers. I'm a big fan of Doppelganger and Twin films, and Dead Ringers is freaking great. It's one that not a lot of people talk about because it's not one of the crazy Cronenbergs like the other ones, but it's pretty damn good. Let's see. Cinema Dude, I missed Goblin when they came around here a few years ago, but I do get to see Joe Bob this Saturday showing Shopping Mall. Very nice. That's pretty awesome.
I think that's in New York or somewhere around there, New Jersey, New York area.
That does sound right. Definitely sounds right. We got some more information on the Amazon Collector's Edition that is coming exclusively to Amazon for Terrifier 2. This is getting a behind the scenes of Terrifier 2, an extended Boo Crew interview, director commentary with Damien Leone, and then there is a fan art gallery that will be on there. Notably, this is a bit different because the Terrifier 2 Blu-ray that is coming in a steelbook to Walmart has different features on it. So it seems like they're either trying to get people to go all in and double dip, or they're trying to oversell the Amazon release as an exclusive collector's edition. Either way, there's multiple releases, something to look out for depending on what you're getting. But then the third one that they haven't even technically announced yet, Terrifier 2 is supposedly getting a Best Buy exclusive 4K release. Wow. And I am into that for sure, but it does suck if we're going to get fragmented features as well.
Yeah, I hate when they do that. It hasn't been like that in a while, but this is the first release I remember where you have to pick which one you want or buy both.
Yeah, certainly. And the director on this one did confirm that the 4K is coming from Best Buy in a Reddit AMA that he was doing, and really went deep into the 3 different versions coming out. He had to highlight the Steelbook at Walmart, Amazon Collector's Edition, and the 4K. So they're all coming probably on the same day, December 7th, but Best Buy getting those exclusive 4Ks, that's messed up for a lot of people too, that either don't have a local Best Buy or don't trust shopping online at Best Buy, which I completely get because they don't care.
They don't care. I went in the other week when I text you because I thought Best Buy had the Bodies 4K. And right. You're like, yeah, it's there, it's exclusive. So I go in there, I'm looking around where their media is. Had to ask someone. They looked at me blankly, went to go ask someone, and there it is. Well, why wasn't it out?
On a Tuesday, on release day, when people are going to want it most. Come on.
I
know. Next up on our docket is Discovery of Witches, the complete trilogy. I know literally nothing about this. Do you know this one at all?
No.
Cool. The only reason I really posted this is because I've heard about it quite a few times. I've heard it's got a pretty decent fan base, but yeah, I guess this is a pretty good looking release. Got a whole trilogy on there you can pre-order now. We also got our next second side announcement for one that I am now dying to see. I had never heard of this title, but we are getting Boiling Point, which is from 2021. And supposedly, this is done in a set of either long cuts or something like that about cooking. So the synopsis for this one says, on the busiest night of the year, at one of the hottest restaurants in London, a charismatic and commanding head chef balances on a knife's edge as multiple personal and professional crises threaten to destroy everything he's worked for. We're getting that on November 21st, and this is, again from Second Sight, another loaded release. Audio commentary times 2, new interviews with the producer, new interviews with another producer, new interview with the writer, a making of, and then, of course, their classic Second Sight really important title release now that they get on almost all these limited edition rigid slipcase with 70-page softcover book and then a whole bunch of collector's art cards.
Time out real quick. Flickering Waves talked about Fast Company from David Cronenberg. That's one nobody talks about because it's kind of a job for hire he did, but it's a solid little movie. You get some Cronenberg aspects. There's like a sex scene where his character's pouring more oil down the girl, and it's just weird. But
wasn't there a rumor too that he was supposed to remake that or something?
I haven't heard. That'd be interesting.
Huh? Interesting. Spaghetti's here. What's going on? Rabbit is a good one too.
Mm-hmm.
And then speaking of Boiling Point, by Fur to Hobbit, Boiling Point is Gordon Ramsay on steroids, which means I absolutely have to watch it now. Absolutely. Next up, one of the more exciting announcements for the week. 88 Films in the U.S. is putting out the In the Line of Duty 1 through 4 box set with Michelle Yeoh, Cynthia Khan, Cynthia Rothrock, and Donnie Yen. This is... I thought we did have a solid release date. I guess not. Just coming soon. However, artwork looks incredible on this. All from the same artist. Looks really great. Are you into... I know you got some 88 Films. Are you collecting a lot of their martial arts stuff too?
Oh yeah, I think I'm complete on their US side.
Oh, nice. Very nice. Have a good night, Josephine. Sister Agatha is back. What's going on? Wow. By Fur to Hobbit, Boiling Point was filmed 5 times. They used the second filming for the theatrical release. What the hell? That's amazing. Yeah. So, is it one long take? I thought it was multiple long takes. That's crazy. Either way, In the Line of Duty 1 through 4, for those that don't know, this is like the loosely connected series of films, primarily with Michelle Yeoh, and ones that people have wanted for quite a long time. At least some of these, and I think most of them, are getting a release from Eureka in the UK, and 88 Films is getting them in the US, but Eureka is not putting them out in a box set. So you'll have to scoop them up separately if you want to go down that route. Next up, we got another box set coming on December 13th from Cinema Guild, which is not a company we talk about a whole lot on here. 3 films by Hong Sang-soo with Nobody's Daughter Haiwan, Our Soon-hee, and Oki's movie. Those are from 2013, and 2010. This release looks great. Hong Sang-soo, always good. Have you seen any of the Hong Sang-soo films at all?
I have not.
They're pretty stylish. They are ones that are a little slow for some people, but he is an incredible director. A lot of his stuff, if you watch it back to back especially, it starts to feel a little samey, but definitely recommended. Hong Sang-soo, really good stuff. I'm curious about this one. I will wait and look at some reviews. Cinema Guild, I don't know a whole lot about them just because they don't put out as much as they used to. But somebody who seems to be putting out everything at the moment, Kino Lorber, putting out The Big Easy from 1986, starring Dennis Quaid and Ellen Barkin. This is just another one of their coming soon titles, so we don't know when. This is getting a brand new HD master, and we'll probably see some features on this when it gets a solid release date. This will probably come out somewhere around May-ish, if I had to guess. But yeah, Dennis Quaid. Always loved Dennis Quaid. Let's see. By Fur to Hobbit says, Hong Sang-soo are well-done movies, never seen a bad one. I would agree with that completely. Next up, because this always happens, of course, Black Adam, the DC film, is getting a Best Buy exclusive 4K release. And I believe, now that I've posted this and said more details TBA, I believe you can actually pre-order this now. You went and saw Black Adam over this last week, right?
I did. I did.
What'd you think of it?
Well, me and my kids really liked it. It's kind of the same old superhero stuff, but they did a kind of a neat juxtaposition of like one person's hero might be another person's villain, and they told the line because Black Adam is a villain from the comics, especially for Superman and Shazam, and they told a line. I'm happy to see it. The fans like it, which is more important than critics. It's doing well. They kind of popped it up like it's maybe a fresh beginning for the DC cinematic universe. So eager to see what's next.
I don't know if I've said this on the channel yet. I'm still very green with the DC universe. I think I've seen maybe 2 of the films, and most of that is just by choice. They, for some reason, they just don't shout out to me needing to see them. Oh wait, I guess if you count Robert Pattinson's Batman, I think that would be 3.
Yeah.
But I'm curious on this one. The Rock, he always grates on me because he always just plays The Rock. Is he a very different feeling person on this one, or is it just same old, same old?
I mean, yes and no. I mean, I think he's well researched on Black Adam in the comics, and you get that sense of love that he had for the character. He's been working on it for 15 years.
Jesus.
But I think The Rock of 2022 is more apt for the character than The Rock 15 years ago.
Yeah, I would agree with that, even without seeing it. Yeah, that makes sense. I love that the first comment about DC is Dead Sea Life. The DC films are generally not good. So then we'll move right along to a Kino Lorber 4K release of 3 Days of the Condor. This is one that I believe when they announced a film just a couple weeks ago on 4K that I said, watch, we're probably going to be seeing 3 Days of the Condor on 4K here soon from them. And it's no surprise. Here it is. This one is coming soon with no physical release date yet. This is getting a brand new Dolby Vision master, thankfully. New 4K scan of the OCN. And for those that don't know, it's the Robert Redford, Faye Dunaway, and Max von Sydow film. I'm probably going to get this. This is one that I pretty much got to have. Kino Lorber 4Ks, in my opinion, have generally been just kind of hitting it out of the park.
They have been.
Let's see. Sardis loves this one. Spaghetti says it's coming out in 3 days. That would be a miracle. That's a funny joke, though. Next up, I put out a couple videos on the Scored to Death documentary, and it is not doing real well. I believe it ends this weekend, and for anybody that has not checked it out, it is a documentary by the guy here in the picture playing guitar that is interviewing horror composers, and some of the stuff for this is incredible. He's written 2 books on the subject. You can see them in the picture here, but Scored to Death is something that I think a lot of people would really, really appreciate, but it seems like people are just not gravitating towards this fundraiser. If you haven't yet, please go watch the interview. Check out the link. I think it ends on November 1st, so you only got 4 or 5 days left. I would love to see more people back this project because it sounds incredible. Moving right along. Oscilloscope Labs gave us an update on a bunch of things. Do you have anything from Oscilloscope yet?
No, I don't. I've been meaning to. Maybe this winter I'll get their Circle of Trust.
Not a lot of their stuff seems to jump out at you as far as genre-wise, I would think. But
I did see Short Bus. I know they recently put that out, but I seen it theatrically back when it came out 10 years ago or something.
Nice. So some things that they're changing. For Circle of Trust members, you will notice a change in the packaging. They're moving to a different manufacturer because they recently had some delays. It is going to be a 6-page standard gatefold instead of 4, which means they're going to have more room for art and essays and some other possible extras. And it will actually have a plastic disc tray rather than the, I don't even know what to call it, paper pocket that they've been using, which I got to be honest, I kind of hated. So I'm glad that they're getting away from that. The next releases that are coming out in December from them are the Velvet Queen and The Tale of King Crab. And then also, because their packaging is changing and it's been so long that they've been using the same price of their Circle of Trust was at $100. It is now going up to $140 for Blu-rays, and it'll be $120 for DVDs, which in my opinion, still a great price for 10 brand new releases that includes all of the shipping every single time, no matter how many times that they ship to you. And it is going to be a little bit of an increase, but it is still more than 50% off all of the discs. If you want to lock in the $100 price before, you got to do it before November 18th. That is the biggest thing. If you want to spend $100 there and get a Blu-ray subscription for the next 10 releases, do it before November 18th. Then, another sale. Olive Films is hosting, not Olive Films is hosting, Olive Films can't host anything because they're basically dead. Deep Discount is hosting an Olive Films sale. When you go to this link here, you will look for the Olive Films logo, and any title with that is buy one, get one free. Not buy one, get one half off, but when it's $22, each of those is going to be $11, and that's a pretty damn good deal. Any Olive Films on your want list at the moment, or anything that you picked up? Did you check this out?
No, I haven't checked the sale out. The only Olive Films I have is their Monster Squad disc.
It's a good movie.
Yeah, it just no extras. It kind of sucks, but
yeah, a lot of their films they didn't even get subtitles, which kind of irked me. I'm a big subtitle fan, and to not have anything on there, it starts to get really grating, unfortunately. They do have some good, nice releases though, like Bucket of Blood, the old Dick Miller movie, is really great.
That's loaded with extras, I believe, too.
It is, yeah. It's one of the very few. Trying to see. So let's. Oh, they also had a really good release of Bound. I don't think that is on sale though. This one has a whole bunch of features on it as well. Now out of print, I believe. Their release of Dirty Work is the only one out there on Blue, I believe. And then another big one, Olive Signature put out the original Invasion of the Body Snatchers. All of these Olive Signature ones got really good releases, and then just the regular Olive Films, they said, screw it. They don't even need subtitles.
They were like I'd say like a budget Blu-ray, but a little bit higher quality.
Yeah, and the big thing is they went for the higher, I won't say higher quality titles, but they went for the more mainstream titles. And so in the process, the licensing probably cost them a little more. But you would think if you're going to be able to sell more due to that, maybe you can pony out for some special feature. I don't know.
Or like, Monster Squad, they couldn't pour it over the Lionsgate DVD.
Yeah, that's a good point. We're going to be talking about Olive Films a little while because it seems like Olive Films is no more. And somebody that worked at Olive Films may have started a new company called Sandpiper Films. And they are putting out 8 different releases in December. We're going to talk about those at the tail end of the show. Let's see what is next here. We got a whole bunch of stuff coming from Discotek. I know a little bit about 1 or 2 of these, but very little overall. First, we're getting Kamen Rider Black. This is the 8th series, and it's coming on Blu-ray. It's going to be across 5 different discs in Japanese with English subs. And for those that like this sort of thing, this was a pretty huge announcement. Next up, we're getting another. This is a feature film based on the same novel as the hit anime. I don't know anything about this one. Japanese with English subs as well. Coming in winter of 2023. Then this is the one that I know about. So Suicide Club. Have you seen Suicide Club before?
I believe like 20 some years ago or something. It's been a while. It's kind of gone from my memory, but this will probably be picked up.
So this is one that got announced recently as coming from Third Window Films, but the director kind of had some allegations come out about him this year, Sion Sono, and it seems like when I talked to Adam earlier this year, at least, that their release might be at least on hold because people were not willing to help put in features and stuff like that. But in the meantime, we get something coming from Discotek. This is coming in winter of 2023 as well, and this is a pretty great movie. It's going to be remastered in-house at Discotek from the original elements. Color correction by David Miranda, which is going to be approved by the director himself in Japanese with English subs, and there are going to be other extras and features on it. So this will probably be the best way to get this film for the foreseeable future. Curious if Third Window Films will follow through on theirs. We're also getting Golgo 13. Now, this has had a couple different films. I think this is a remake, and then there was a remake of the remake. This is from 1973. Go ahead.
Yeah, something like that, yeah.
I think there's been 3 titles of it now. This one is the Ken Takakura film, and this is the first official English language home video release ever, and the first time on Blu-ray ever. This is going to be in English in Japanese with English subs, with other extras and features. Again, coming in winter of 2023.
A year away.
I mean, yeah, Discotheque is killing it. I mean, they could be talking about early 2023, I guess, like February. That's winter, and it's
would be winter of 2023.
Then we're getting Ultimate Muscle. The Fox Box Saturday morning favorite show is coming to SD Blu-ray. All 77 episodes in English with other extras and features. Did you ever watch Ultimate Muscle?
Mm-mm.
Me neither. Next up, Sonic X. You've asked for it. You've been patient, and now Discotheque delivers 78 episodes on SD Blu-ray in Japanese with English subs. And this is going to get a huge restoration, it sounds like. Newly revised subs and everything. Yeah, this seems like a great release. Discotheque really does a lot for animation, and I'm glad that they're still doing stuff like this. Thankfully, that's it from Discotheque. We got a little hint from an article this week that on November 24th, A24 is releasing a special edition of The Green Knight. This is saying that will also include a short film that came from the same director, David Lowery. The Oak Thorn and the Old Rose of Love will loosely tie into the Green Knight story, and the 20-minute short film centers around 2 entities that exchange their knowledge in unconventional ways. And the crazy thing, in that article, they bring up that short was just filmed this year, which is super interesting. This will most likely be a 4K release. Green Knight, did you go see this one, or have you seen it yet?
I missed it in theaters, and I just blind bought the Blu-ray. Yeah, it's pretty badass. I'm probably gonna be a Christmas movie. I'll watch this Christmas. I don't know why. It just feels like a Christmas movie.
It does feel like a Christmas movie, and it's one that I recommend. And if you have never checked out, not only if you've never checked out the film, but if you've never checked out the short, well, it's not that short, but the story that precedes this film, which a lot of people read in high school, it gives you this huge appreciation for this film that you just may not be able to get unless you've read it first, because a lot of it seems metaphorical when you're watching the film, but the story really lays it out perfectly, and it's just a great adaptation. So good, really well made, and I can't wait to see what they do, because the artwork for this could be incredible. Next up, Thrillers from the Vault is coming from Mill Creek. A lot of those old. We're going to put as many DVDs as we can in this box set for you, and this is getting The Black Room, The Man They Could Not Hang, Before I Hang, The Man with 9 Lives, The Devil Commands, The Boogeyman Will Get You, The Return of the Vampire, and 5. All 8 films. These are coming in one package on December 13th. And it looks to be trending right around $40 to $45-ish, which seems decent for 8 films on Blu-ray.
I think there's some extra features, like some commentaries on these too.
Yeah, I believe they were able to port over some things from the previous releases. And then they're also doing a sci-fi version. This is Sci-Fi from the Vault with 4 films in it. We're getting Creature with the Atom Brain. It looks like I had a typo there, so that's good that I can see it on the cover. Creature with the Atom Brain. It Came from Beneath the Sea, 20 Million Miles to Earth, and the 30-Foot Bride of Candy Rock. This one, on the other hand, is trending to be about $18 on Amazon right now, which is pretty damn great for these 4 films in a pack like this.
It Came from Beneath the Sea was me and my uncle's favorite growing up.
Nice. And that movie's been released a lot of times, but this is good, a solid release.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a real cool film. Stop motion animation's pretty awesome in it with the gigantic octopus. Me and my uncle tried to recreate it. We're big into stop motion animation. And my uncle created he was real good at making those modes and stuff. It looked just like the movie. We didn't do much with it, but it's That movie holds a special place in my heart.
That's awesome. Is it? I don't know if it's just you and I, but it feels like almost everybody that is in this hobby or adjacent to it at least tried to do something in the like let's make a short film set a long time ago. And I'm just glad that it wasn't just me because one of the big ones I never got into stop motion, but we did a film that was like the what is the movie that came out from Draft House Films? I think it's got the I Declare War is what it was called, I believe.
Mhm.
A whole bunch of kids pretending to play like army in the middle of the forest, basically, but they're using pretend weapons. But the way it's filmed is make it look like they have real weapons.
Yeah, their
And
imagination.
and it's great, so well done, really, really fun movie. We did the same thing, but instead of you see real weapons, we just had them be imaginary, but you could just hear them. So we used all the real sound effects, and it ended up being pretty cool. I played like a mob boss in our little short that we got, and there's even a scene with me in a bathtub in a short film, and it's awkward.
Speaking of stop motion, me and my uncle made a short film when I was probably 9 or 10 called John the Dragon Killer, and had a stop motion dragon that attacked me and my uncle, who was playing my dad on a fishing trip. And yeah, the dragon picked him up and was going like this. And I brought out a gun and shot lasers and disintegrated them and stuff. Yeah, the cool thing about was about a year later after we finished it, we met Ray Harryhausen and we gave it to him to watch.
Awesome.
And then when I was in college, I fixed it because we were editing tape on tape. So there was like little beeps in between the edit.
Right.
So I, in college, took it out and put it in black and white and put it on DVD and kind of gave it back to my uncle that way.
Awesome.
Yeah.
That's a cool gesture. That's really cool. Dead Sea Life says, isn't the Atom Brain in the Cold War set? Yes, it is. The Cold War set that Arrow put out. And Spaghetti says, some cool Harryhausen in there. Yeah, definitely a good set. Next up, January 24th, Mill Creek is giving us London from 2006 with Chris Evans and Jason Statham and Jessica Biel. I've never seen this one. Have you seen this one?
I've never even heard of it. Might
Me
be
neither.
an early film from Statham. Is London Films or something?
I mean, 2006. That's pretty early for him.
Yeah.
And I was following Jessica Biel by then. I mean, Texas Chainsaw
Was
Massacre
it?
already got everybody in love with her. So next up, we're getting Warning Shot from Kino Lorber. This is from 1968 with David Jansen. This gets a new audio commentary with Steve Mitchell and Howard Berger. This is one that I'm probably going to be picking up. Looks good to me. This one's pretty cool. We're finally getting a decent 4K steelbook of the new Candyman film. This starts the pre-order tomorrow, 9 a.m. British time. This is coming out December 26th. You can get it on Zavvi, and I don't think there's any new exclusive features or anything like that, but this looks like a pretty nice steelbook for all steelbook collectors out there. I don't think you're much of a steelbook collector, though, right?
I have some. I've kind of got sick of them because they're a little bit thicker and my shelf space is dying. So I'm trying to save space, but that's real cool. The art's real cool.
Yeah. I loved what they did with the they did that whole trailer that looked like construction paper for this film, and it was so well done. And then
That's
I
a great
think
movie.
over the credits at the end, I think they showed a little bit of it. But God, yeah, it's so good. I was surprised they didn't do more with the art on that, and I'm glad that it's coming out here because this looks really nice. Yeah, I kind of wish this was coming to the U.S. And who knows? It could. Just because it's going to Zavvi, it could come out at Best Buy or something. So who knows? Next up, Ronin Flicks is getting an interesting title for them. They're getting a Jet Li double feature of Fist of Legend and Tai Chi Master. These are from 1994 and 1993. Tai Chi Master also features Michelle Yeoh. I love Ronin Flicks. They do some really great work when they're putting stuff out. This is going to be their like 8th or 9th release, I think.
Very minimal this year.
Yeah, they've not done a whole lot. Although they're ones that they were putting out, Becky, and then the Goodbye Man or whatever that
Nightmare
other
Man.
one, the Nightmare Man. That one I believe just started shipping for a lot of people. So if you were into it, it's a good time to check them out because they're in stock and shipping now.
These are really good movies. Dragon Dynasty had them, and they're actually using the Dragon Dynasty art on these, which is really interesting.
Yeah, and there is no. I noticed this. I don't know if it's just a mock-up or something. There's no Ronin Flicks logo here on the side of this. So
Yeah, it could have been a quick
yeah.
thing to put out for a press release.
And it looked like that some other site posted the news of this before Ronin Flicks did. So I wonder if that's why they posted the artwork.
Maybe.
Next up, we got some indicator announcements. Man, we are already on today. I feel like this is flying by. January 16th, we are getting all of these titles, I believe, and these are all UK only. No US titles coming from Indicator in January. This first one is Freud, and it sounds pretty great. The film charts Freud's journey from graduating medical school to his early investigations into hysteria, hypnosis, and the analysis of dreams, and onto his formulation of the radical concepts which would underpin his psychoanalytic theory, scandalize the medical world, and change the face of the 20th century. I've never seen this, but it sounds great. It's got Montgomery Clift in it. Let's see. Video Man and says, Suicide Club is a movie I wanted for so long. Saw it back in the days on festival screening, but never got a hold of it after. Well, now you'll have your chance. Next up from Indicator is The Night of the Following Day. I believe this also had a Kino release, so some people may already have this one. This is from 1969, and it's got Marlon Brando. Little known actor named Marlon Brando. Some people have heard of him. Next up, Death of a Gunfighter. This is from 69 as well, and it says, in Cottonwood Springs, Marshal Frank Patch kills a man in self-defense. The town council, wishing to move away from frontier justice and into the modern world, decide that it's time for Patch to retire. Patch refuses, but with the dead man's son swearing revenge and the council refusing to take no for an answer, he senses his time might be up. And it sounds great. Richard Widmark, always good at what he does. This one also has Lena Horne. And you've gotten at least a handful of Indicator stuff this year, right?
Yeah. Mostly they're US. Because, chastise me all you want. I'm not region free. But so I'm a little disappointed about these releases.
Well, first off, let's litigate this, because we've talked about this so many times in the Discord. Why are you not region free yet?
Lazy.
It's got to be more than that. Come on.
It really is. And a lot of it's like, well, someone in region A is going to pick it up.
It's not always true, though.
No, it isn't. I know.
I mean, how nice is that Dawn of the Dead set that you... thankfully, it's in 4K, so you can get the
It's
UK
pretty good,
version.
except for the bonus disc.
Yeah, it's a beautiful release, and there's a lot, thankfully. But I will say, it's 2022. You should really not be.
I know, because that release is pretty cool. I could see pick that up for me and my dad or something.
Nice. They Might Be Giants. This is the last Indicator announcement for the month. This is coming on January 16th as well. This is from 72. Grief-stricken widower Justin Playfair begins to believe he is Sherlock Holmes. Briefly institutionalized, he teams up with his doctor, coincidentally named Watson, because of course, and together they follow a string of clues across New York City as they search for their elusive archenemy, Moriarty. This movie sounds incredible. I don't know how I've never seen this. It's got George C. Scott. Have you ever happened to see this one?
None of these, when you posted them, I haven't seen them, but I was like, damn it, they're UK only.
Yeah, UK only. And I believe this is a Sony title, which means it'll be region locked. Because of course. We also got some other Region B announcements today. We got Run Man Run coming from Eureka on January 23rd. This is the third Sergio Solima film, and third and final Western film. And for those that don't know, this has Thomas Milian from The Big Gun Down and Django Kill, If You Live, Shoot. And he is reprising his role as the crafty knife thrower from Solima's earlier film, The Big Gun Down. Pretty damn cool, which means it's basically a sequel. You got to check it out. I can't wait to see this one. The Big Gun Down is a lot of fun.
Was this not on Blue Underground?
Did they put this out? Maybe on DVD?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Because it sounded familiar when you posted it.
Let me check. Run Man. Whoops. That's a very different movie. I use Swipe on my phone, and when I did that, it said Rub Man. and I got very different results. No, yeah, this appears to be the first Blu-ray release
Oh,
of this
nice. That's
film.
interesting.
So yeah, that's cool. And then, speaking of what we talked about just a little while ago, Michelle Yeoh in Royal Warriors coming from Eureka as well. This is following on the success of Yes, Madam. Michelle Yeoh returns straight away to the girls with guns genre with this fast-paced 80s Hong Kong action classic. Again, you pretty much got to choose 88 Films or Eureka on some of these titles, but they're meant to be based on where you live. So the easiest thing is probably just to go with your region for the most part. Let's see. Terry says, have known about the movie They Might Be Giants because of the band, but never got around to watching it. I will say, I love the band They Might Be Giants. I have followed them for such a long time. They are just a remarkable talent. Yeah. No Mercy. No Mercy is coming from Kino Lorber on January 17th. This is the Richard Gere and Kim Basinger film. We get a new interview with actor Jerome Crabb on this, and then a trailer, and that's it. But this is one that I've heard great things about and just never got around to for some reason. So I'm probably going to be checking out this one for sure. Kino does great stuff always.
Always.
We talked about Sandpiper a little while ago, and now it's time to really dive into them. So we're getting 8 new titles from them on December 13th. The first is The Bridge at Remagen. I'm going to assume that's how you say it. The second is Wild Bill with Jeff Bridges and Ellen Barkin. Third is The Hospital with George C. Scott. The fourth is Comes a Horseman with James Caan and Jane Fonda and Jason Robards. These are... You can't order them yet. Can't pre-order them anywhere as far as I can tell. And then we got 4 more here. Robert Duvall's Assassination Tango. The Hawaiians with Charlton Heston. Mole Flanders with Robin Wright, Morgan Freeman, and Stockard Channing. I've never heard of this film, but that cast sounds crazy. Robin Wright, Morgan Freeman, and Stockard Channing in the same film. All right. And then Holiday Heart with Ving Rhames and maybe one of the worst covers I've seen in a couple years. I don't know how photoshopped this is or if it's just a really bad picture. Somebody did Ving Rhames wrong here because that looks pretty bad. Now I zoomed in and I can't zoom out. Okay, here we go. Either way, like I said, Sandpiper Pictures, it appears as if this is the next Olive Films. So I would imagine they're going to be very similar. Most of these releases are coming out around $15, $16. We don't know if there's going to be sales on these anywhere. They're not tied to any sort of retail chain that we know of. This might be on sale on Amazon or something, perhaps Target in the buy 2 get 1 sale. But yeah, let me get away from this art so I don't have to stare at that giant forehead anymore. Yeah, so some people have really dove into this. It appears that the business was registered in a place that was close to where Olive Films had registered theirs. And then beyond that, the font used on the back of these releases is the exact same font as Olive Films. So there's some evidence lining up to makes it appear as if it is Olive Films, gone, done, that's in the past, and now they are Sandpiper. What they seem to be so far is picking up a lot of Twilight Time releases and giving them new life and in print. Unfortunately, it appears as if most of them are going to be bare bones discs again. Some of them have a feature or 2, but I'm willing to bet that we're going to be stuck with the same sort of Olive Films lacking presentation, we'll say.
Yeah, I heard this on... I listened to the Bay Street Video podcast that Justin Decloux hosts, and they were mentioning Sandpiper and how they were kind of born out of the ashes or maybe reworked out of Olive. But I think they said the pricing is a little bit higher than they expected for bare bones. But that's also Canada versus our dollars, so we'll see.
That's true. Just a couple left, or maybe just this one. But we're ending on a pretty high note. Kino on January 24th is releasing Death Wish on 4K UHD. This is a picture of the slipcover, and then they're going to have reversible art, and this is the reversible art on the inside. This is getting a multi-disc set. It's got disc 1 4K, brand new 2022 HDR Dolby Vision Master from a 4K scan of the OCN, new audio commentary from Paul Talbot, because of course, the author of the Bronson's Loose books. And then disc 2 on the Blu-ray, we are getting the brand new updated master of the film with that audio commentary, plus some of the archival stuff. We got an interview with actor John Hersfeld, the US and UK radio spots, TV spots, trailers. That one's remastered as well. And then, of course, we are going to get some subs on this. But either way, it is nice to see this in 4K to go along with that Vinegar Syndrome 4K of Death Wish 2.
Yeah, that's going to be a big seller for Kino.
So I have been eviscerated in the comments multiple times for not adoring Charles Bronson. What are your feelings on Charles Bronson?
I like him. He's he has a samey vibe in each film, but once you get into some of these films of his, he's done some unique stuff. Like White Buffalo was real unique. But yeah, he's kind of that gruff, too much Jack Daniels type of look on his face.
I think that's what I've narrowed it down to. I think I don't like that generation's vision of manly men. The whole Charles Bronson, Clint Eastwood, John Wayne, Chuck Norris, even somebody like Jean-Claude Van Damme, which I know you like. I just can't gravitate towards them. I will
say about Jean-Claude Van Damme is he always played the blue collar guy.
He did.
He always did stuff that helped out his nieces, a son. He was a family man. I always called him the hero of the middle class. So that's why Jean-Claude Van Damme was my hero.
Well, and I got to give it to him a little bit, especially with the roles that he chose. There was a layer of camp to a lot of Jean-Claude Van Damme stuff. It wasn't just played completely seriously. He was in on some of the jokes for sure. There's no way that he couldn't have been.
Yeah, he had a real good timing for humor that people sometimes don't see or don't kind of got lost in some of the lesser films, but he's a pretty funny guy.
Stan Geezy's finally here, and he said, I can only stomach Time Cop. All right, let's go to what we always share next, and that is what is coming out next week that you may have missed. And next week is a doozy of a 4K week. So we are getting all kinds of stuff on 4K. We're getting National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, A Christmas Story, Elf, the Christmas Specials Collection, The Polar Express, all of those Christmas films coming to 4K, all on November 1st. Also, we're getting the Running Man 4K with Schwarzenegger, the updated Starship Troopers 4K Steelbook, which I believe is a new disc compared to the old 4K that had already come out. So some people might be into that one. A little film called In the Mood for Love is coming from Criterion. Piranha 4K is coming from Scream Factory. Top Gun, the 2-pack and the second film that just came out earlier this year, that is coming out on 4K. And actually, I believe that one is getting a Monday release. It's coming out on Halloween because Tom Cruise controls so much, he's allowed to get his own special release date for it. I'm curious if there's something with that, like they had to have it on sale in October, and that was the latest they could possibly delay it or something.
That's weird.
Yeah, I don't know why. Then we're getting another 4K update of The Evil Dead and Evil Dead 2. There's nothing new on these discs. It is just one of the most exploited franchise in home video history. So, of course, they're going to put it out again. We are getting the Bing Crosby joint Holiday Inn on 4K with Fred Astaire. At Close Range coming from NVD Rewind. Daisies from Criterion. One that I was looking forward to, the El Vampiro Negro coming from Flickr Alley. I certainly need to look into picking that one up for sure. For all those masochistic people, Sharknado, the complete collection, comes out next week. Dream Lover, I believe this is Kino putting that out. Another one from Cohen Media, Felix and Lola and Love Street. This is two films by Patrice Leconte. Then The Good Boss, also from Cohen Media. This is the Javier Bardem movie that I am dying to see because it sounds like he's going to be great in that. Let's see. I think this was the bulk of what I'd seen when I checked earlier. And yeah, that's about it. Anything coming out next week that you're dying to get your hands on that you don't yet?
Maybe Piranha 4K from Scream Factory, but outside of that, I just got my Vinegar Syndrome email, so I'll be messing with those movies next week.
Smart. Yeah, I can't wait to see what Piranha on 4K is going to look like, because that movie, it's not always looked terrible like the older Scream Factory one. It looked good, but this is one that it could really shine in 4K if they did it right.
Yep. Probably waiting for reviews.
Brian says, watching daily Halloween movie with friends. First time watching Ernest Scared Stupid. First time. I'm considering showing that to my kids on Halloween this year, actually. All right. To the meat and potatoes of the show.
Uh-oh.
We are here already, and like this is faster than normal. Ryan, what is that cartoon release? Did I miss one? Let me pull up what I just closed. And let's see, I didn't even see one for it in there. Oh, it is there. That is a Sandpiper release. Another one coming from them. It is a release of the old Twilight Time disc. I'm not sure if it's going to have any of the same features, but it is getting another release. Okay, so faster than I expected, because usually the announcements take us a good hour and a half or 2 hours to get through.
That's been kind of a slow week.
Yeah, it's been very slow, but next week looks to be kind of huge. We're getting Arrow announcements tomorrow, Scream Factory announcements Monday, and then, of course, the first is next week, so we're getting all kinds of OCN goodies getting announced next Tuesday. Whole bunch of stuff coming up. Silent Man, well, no reason to apologize. I am here to help. That's why we have the show. Come on. All right. The main meat and potatoes of the show tonight is going to be on extreme horror. So first question, how do you define extreme horror? Because this is looked at as differently by so many people.
It is, and I think there's two sets of extreme horror. There's the just to shock you, and then there's the one that's made with artistic intentions. And I lean towards the artistic intentions. But I mean, you know, let's say Faces of Death. That's easily an extreme horror.
Yes.
It's just there to shock. On you know, there's nothing deep about it. It's just what can gross you out. I do like.
What are some other shocking ones that you would say are only there to shock?
You know, a lot of the unearthed films stuff.
Sadly.
Yeah, sad. I mean, there's nothing wrong with those movies. There's actually pretty decent ones that Unearthed Films does have in their catalog. I could think of their out of print DVD of Aftermath. It's a Spanish short film, about 35 minutes. It's utterly shocking. I guess there's some maybe psychological stuff you could analyze from it, but it's just there to shock. But it's damn good.
Right.
I showed it on a date night once to a lady.
Really brave decision there.
She's like, she's all shaking. Did I earn brownie points? I'm like, no, I just wanted to watch it tonight. Thanks for watching.
So we got a good breaking off point before we get too deep into this. Cam says Terrifier. So my question to you is, do you view Terrifier as an extreme horror film?
No.
I do not. I view Terrifier as this is like, to me, the definition of a torture porn film.
Yeah, it's just Friday 13th Part 4 on Red Bull. You know, it's amped up gore.
With less plot. Yeah. Somehow.
Well, yeah, I don't know. Terrifier does it for me.
The first Terrifier, not the second one.
No, both of them do it for me. Spaghetti said the Mondo Docs. That's actually a good example in just the shock side of, especially some of the later ones like Africa Blood and Guts. It's
some of them get tough to watch.
Yes.
So I would tend to agree with you. There are some that are made just to shock. There are some that are made with artistic intent, and obviously there are some that blur those lines as well. Because some of them, like a Serbian film, and some of them like Necromantic, they are made to shock, and that was the point of the films, to shock. However, there was an intent in those feelings. Like Necromantic was made to protest the rating system in the country that they were making the film. And without that, they would not be able to have any sort of reputation or legacy that they have with this, because it would just be another lost movie, because they would do nothing. So the shocking part is there for a reason. It's to make people remember it. And yeah,
people got to understand, even just shock art, and you can go into the art world. I'm thinking of this photograph from, I want to say 86, called the Piss Christ. It's this photograph of this crucifix, and it's almost looks like it's an apocalyptic setting. But when you find out the artist just dipped a crucifix into a jar of piss and took a picture of it, you know. But I mean, there's an element of shock sometimes that can be just beautiful, or there could be a reason why he's shocking you. Like, to shock someone isn't a bad thing,
right,
at all. I guess it's what's the intent. Like, anyone can show a beheading of a journalist in the Middle East to shock you, but why would you want to see that? But
exactly.
some of these movies, they shock you for a lot of reasons, and you got to understand a lot of this stuff is not created in a vacuum. We're people, we have life experiences, and we put this into our art, whether it's a painting, a film, music. There's a reason. And sometimes the stuff is, it's hard to watch, but you got to understand, at least understand where the artist is coming from. And I hope that's what me and you're going to do tonight.
Yeah, and I think that with some of these blurred lines, there is a lot of wiggle room for nuance and for people to debate the merits of some of these films. But keep in mind, as we go through all of this, that again, there's no reason to gatekeep anybody's opinions. There's no reason to share that somebody is a bad person for watching some of these. There's no reason to even think some of the scenes in a Serbian film, which are, some people would say, the worst things ever filmed in a full feature-length movie, that they shouldn't be there necessarily, because the person behind that film had an actual intent for it to be made that way. And it is shocking. I'm not taking that away. It is extreme. I am rating it as such as well. But also, it's got a completely different meaning to it when you really break it down and listen to the person behind it. Because these films, they're not just coming out of a studio. They're coming out of a person who could be employed at a studio, or most of the time it's an indie, but it is a voice telling a story just through a way that you're not used to.
No. And I think there's a complacency that we as a culture have gotten in the last 20 years. And it's not really a left-wing versus a right-wing thing. It's just, as a culture, we've become, we don't want to see that. We know it exists. Don't talk about it. And right. You see it in a lot of films nowadays. They're just, I don't know, paint by numbers sometimes. And that's fine for some movies. But, sometimes send a shock to your system. Live a little, understand something, have some empathy to someone's pain and plight. Because a lot of these movies we'll talk about, there's real pain in what they're trying to say to you.
Anthony says the baby in American Sniper is a lot more shocking.
Was that like CGI'd, or was it like Plastic Baby or something?
It is a completely rubber baby, and you can see Bradley Cooper's arm shaking to make it move. It's just sad. So let's talk about a handful of these films, why they were made, and for some of them we may not know the full-on answer to it, but we can speculate and draw some meaning behind them, but also maybe share some of the ones that are shocking that still might be worth it to watch. So
yeah, absolutely.
First of all, Faces of Death, I agree with you. That is one of the best to bring up as just a shock factor film. However, I would say it's kind of important to watch just because of the cultural mark that the actual touch point that it was for a complete generation.
Yeah.
Faces of Death is something that everybody saw passed around at their high school if you went to high school in the mid 90s.
Yeah.
People had this like hush hush reputation. Did you see this snuff film going around? And that's where a lot of people first heard the term snuff film, because they thought all of it was real when it wasn't necessarily.
And, you know, just on an artistic side, it's actually really neat to study the editing of that movie, how they blur the fake scenes with the real scenes.
Yep. Stan Geezy says, I had to be forced to watch a Serbian film, but once I did, I was really glad that I did. That's awesome. John DeMarsco brings up Shock Cinema Origins, Salo, Cannibal Holocaust, and I Spit on Your Grave.
We'll get there, John.
Those are good touches. Other shock ones that might be worth it for people to watch. What would you lean into there?
Well, since we're not going to go with the granddaddies, let's go with some maybe outside the box answers. The Gestapo's Last Orgy. Out of all the Nazi exploitation films, this one is still a gut punch 35 years later. It's a rough watch, but it's so beautiful, like in terms of cinematography and stuff. But man, this movie goes there and you feel super dirty about watching it for sure. But friend of the channel, Sam Deegan, has a wonderful commentary on this disc. A must listen.
So what makes that one extreme for everybody that hasn't seen it?
Well, there's some very vile scenes. Oh man, you're gonna force me to talk about this.
I am.
There's a dinner scene that erupts into an orgy with German soldiers and Jewish servants, I would say. The most shocking part is there's a platter of a German girl that they were gonna like eat. She was like the stuffed pig thing, and she's totally like burnt, and they have sex on top of her. It's just
yeah. I'll throw one out now, and I will throw out one that's already got mentioned. I think the August Underground trilogy is a more modern version of the Faces of Death type of thing, where it's shocking to be shocking, but I would say it's almost important to watch it at least once just because of the cultural impact that it's had, because it's another one that had that whisper, reputation passed around for a lot of people that had never seen it, and now it's getting this random Blu-ray release from Unearthed Films here pretty soon, and I think a lot more people are finally gonna be able to see it in high def.
Gary North just said the music in Gestapo's Last Orgy is amazing. It is. It's not a schlock film. It's made really, really well. Out of all the Nazi exploitation films, I think it's like one of the better looking ones. It's a better acted one. It has like a better story. Well, I mean, for what it is. It also has a very shocking baby scene at the end of the movie as well.
So we are getting some of the similar answers here. So let's roll into rape revenge films. So I Spit on Your Grave is obviously probably the most well-known title. We also have things like Thriller that came out from Vinegar Syndrome earlier this year. We've got, what are some of the other better rape revenge films? Well, first off, Revenge is a good modern version of that. Mm-hmm. Why do you watch those?
I don't know. The thing is with I Spit on Your Grave, it was kind of like one of those horror film like benchmarks. Like, can you watch it? Can you get through it? But when you watch it and you find out the real story behind it, and I know there's some women that watch it too. It's cathartic for them.
Yeah.
It's rough. Irreversible.
Yep. Irreversible is a good one. I would say I don't watch them for catharsis because that's never happened to me, but
no.
The empathy feeling that can come out of these is a really good thing to explore.
Exactly.
And as you're watching this, as long as you don't feel empathy for the rapist or worried about why they're being killed, it is a really nice way for you to just verify, hey, I'm at least a halfway decent person. And I say that laughingly just because it's such a touchy subject. But the truth of the matter is, and the last decade has really proved how prevalent this has been in our society, is that the odds are most women that you've ever met in your life have been assaulted in some way, which is gross to think about, first of all. Horrifying, embarrassing for society and men in general. But also, it is so nice to see that some people can take a story like that and get genuine anger out in a way that makes it something that people can latch onto and realize women can stand up for themselves. Women can, take a stand in society. And although it may not be, I spit on your grave, it may be a lawsuit in 2022 where people are finally getting their comeuppance. And it's important to make sure that those stories are told so that it's important for society to continue to view them as horrifying rather than accepting it as a normalcy.
Yeah, so you gotta remember, I Spit on Your Grave was also called Day of the Woman.
Right.
I Spit on Your Grave has a, while she does seek vengeance, bloody vengeance against her rapist, she's not the same after it.
No.
Like, I mean, she could have easily not killed the guys and still been that same person she was at the end of the movie. It's a dark, nihilistic film.
Dude McMahon and Stan Geezy both brought up Last House on the Left. Dude says, I think Last House on the Left gets left out because Wes Craven became such a household name eventually. It's still a pretty appealing film. It is really well made. The original one is very much a shocking timepiece then. I will say that the remake is one of the better remakes, in my opinion. I think that they really keep the depravity in it and upgrade it to a more modern sensibility. And on top of that, they make the captors even less likable, which is nice and makes them really easy to hate, thankfully. So, both still really great films to watch. Anything else for Rape Revenge that you want to throw out there?
Well, I see Video Man talking about how Last House and Thriller should be put up on the pedestal above I Spit. Maybe, but I Spit is just one of those movies, despite its lurid title, it just holds so much weight on a singular act. Like, that whole 25-minute rape sequence, it's brutal. It's brutal. Maybe even more so than anything in Thriller, which, is a different side of rape with the sex work aspect.
That, and I will stand up once again bravely in our platform because you all agree with me. So I'm just kind of preaching to the choir here. But this is another one of the reasons why things like physical media is so important, because one of the reasons I Spit on Your Grave is always talked about more so than some of these other ones is accessibility. It was much easier to see I Spit on Your Grave, at least in the US, for a very long time. The Last House on the Left was a little more difficult to see until it got a little more Wes Craven appeal from it. And Thriller has notoriously been difficult to see, at least in a good version that was not uncensored, or that was not censored in the US in any way.
It took Quentin Tarantino to mention it to get a stateside release of it.
Yeah, so that sort of response is the only thing that gets these within the zeitgeist. And when I Spit on Your Grave has kind of always been in the zeitgeist, it's going to have that reputation over the others, just plain by accessibility standards.
Miss 45 is another great one in that genre.
It is, and I just saw that film for the first time, gosh, I think about 2 years ago. And that one, it is great. I will say that, but there are some things in that film that just stuck with me. If you have not seen it, I know right now the Blu-ray's out of print and very expensive. I don't remember the company's name that bought the Draft House Films catalog.
Me neither.
I would imagine they would be putting that out eventually, and if not, this is a title that would be ripe for a really nice 4K release. It is shot on film in the most beautiful way with a big name director with a nice reputation, and there's still a lot that they could do with special features on that. So I would love to see that get released. Question from Dude: where does Straw Dogs fall in this discussion for you?
Middle of the road.
I like Straw Dogs. I think it's a very well made film. I think it's one that does get at least overlooked, it especially in modern discussions through a lot of these. I think Straw Dogs hit a stride like 15 years ago in film discussion and has just sort of died down since then for some
Yeah.
reason. But yeah, it definitely deserves a mention. It's a really well made film. So we talked about Rape Revenge. What is I'll shoot it to you. What is the next sort of subgenre of extreme that you want to talk about?
I want to go. This is going to be kind of an asterisk, I think, for extreme. You
Okay.
say extreme, put an asterisk, but it's also a movie that's relevant today as it was back then, and a movie that will never get made. That's the thing. A lot of these movies, you really can't remake them. No one's
Right.
going to remake these, and some of the cultural aspects of it we'll get to won't ever be remade. And one I want to highlight, it's an outlier, like I said, not what I would put in with the Serbian Film or Cannibal Holocaust, but is Fight for Your Life. with the nature of what it talks about with race relations, it goes there. It's a tough watch.
Yeah. There's a lot of blaxploitation that was done in a way to highlight the big cultural divide, and it was done in a way to highlight the depravity, which I could see it firmly lying in extreme cinema for a lot of people, not in a way like Martyrs or Inside or anything like
No.
that, but
Yeah.
in a way that is just shocking for different reasons. And it was important, and it's still important, and that's one of the reasons why I'm sad that we're likely never going to see a Blu-ray release of that film.
No. I think a lot of it's with elements, but still, yeah, it's a tough picture to put out because of the way race is handled. It's you're following a very racist character, and
Right.
it's just brutal. It's just brutal in that regards, and unfortunately, it's as timely today as it was when it came out 35, 40 years ago.
Yeah, and Fight for Your Life is one of those that you could literally look away from the film and just listen to it, and it's still extreme cinema. It is.
The language, yes.
Oh yeah, that movie is just it's shock cinema through and through. But it's again, it's done with an intent to tell a story and complete a mission that it super succeeds at, but yet we're still fighting the same mission 40 plus years later, and no sign of that slowing. In fact, it seems to be gaining some traction, which makes no sense.
No.
All right. So other than that, the next one I'll throw out is we got I just mentioned a couple of them. We got this whole wave of extreme films that came out of France in the mid 2000s. What is French New Wave extremity like for you?
Martyrs,
Beautiful
I think,
film.
is the crown jewel of it. Even
Yeah.
if High Tension is probably the most fun of the movies, but yeah. So you have to understand what France was like as a country leading up to this early 2000s. They just didn't have a history of horror. They had a history of fantastique, which is different than horror, even though there's some blurred lines. You know, obviously Jean Roland is the key
Well, even
figure
then,
of French horror.
like his stuff, they hid it even. It was never super widely available, which is
Mhm.
crazy.
They had a change in the government that allowed a little more freedom, and a lot of societal stuff was bubbling up in the country. They were learning a lot about their horrific Algerian War, I believe, from the late 60s. A lot of it wasn't known. A lot of this stuff is a violent reaction to learning about their past. All countries have a bloody past. America's no different than any other country's bloody past.
Probably worse.
Yes, it is. And that's what Martyrs was formed in. It was the director was highly depressed. He was mad at his country, and he was exploring a lot of stuff within religion. Religion is a big part of a lot of people's lives, regardless if you believe in one or the other or don't believe. Religion is just a blanket over society.
Right.
And Martyrs was an explosion against all of that.
And that's a lot of the French New Wave extreme came out of this period of protest cinema. And I know that we talked about that a little bit just a few minutes ago, but in all reality, the discussion with Sam Deegan that I had is really important in regards to protest cinema and the French New Wave extreme era that they had is the very definition of it, because when you hold a group of people down for so long, the moment they get freedom, if you held so much power that they did not have the artistic freedom to do what they want, they're not going to react in a way that is kind. They're going to react in a way that is taking some of that force back. And that is where all of this came from. We have High Tension was in my opinion, the big kicking off point. Would you agree there?
Yeah, I mean, I know Trouble Every Day was the real kickoff to it, but I think mainstream United States to focus on this, because after High Tension came Martyrs, came Inside, came Frontiers.
Them. Yeah, there's quite a few of them, and they are made in a way that you can tell, like, what is the best way to say this? If you're watching Martyrs and you are easily shocked, and the moment that something like that comes on screen and you cover your eyes or look away or get so disgusted that you can't pay attention, you're going to lose the main message to the story, because a lot of it is there to shock you and wake you up a little bit. But if you are there for the ride and are able to comprehend what they're trying to show you throughout the entire film, it is this beautiful story that you can really grab onto. However, I would agree, it's not like an easy rewatch or anything like that, but it's an important film. And therein lies, I think, some of the differences between some of these, because a lot of these, like, again, like August Underground, it's truly not an important film. There's nothing that you watch August Underground and it changes somebody's life in a way that it leads to a big mass protest across the country.
No.
But something like Martyrs can do that. It can set up an entire movement against a government.
Yeah, and Martyrs is just one of those movies that it stays with you after you watch it for days.
Yeah, Martyrs is heavy, and a lot of people look at it in the same vein as something that is all torture porn, like Cabin Fever, or even Saw, or
Hostel.
Hostel is probably the perfect one to compare it to, because of just how, like, visceral it is. So in your opinion, what is the main difference between something like a Hostel or Hostel 2 and Martyrs? Because a lot of people will look at it and just say, it's gory, it's the same thing, why should I watch it?
No. Hostel, is gory. A lot of people think it's extreme. I don't think Hostel is no more extreme than any slasher film that came before. It focuses a little bit more on gross stuff like Achilles tendons and eyeball rips and stuff. But I mean, that's just gore effects. Martyrs is infused every frame of that movie with a director trying to say something to make you feel something.
Right. Yeah, and Hostel, I'd still say it's a good watch. I got nothing wrong with it.
No.
Entertaining film. So by all means, it doesn't mean that it's a bad movie. Just a completely different thing. Martyrs is, again, a difficult watch. I mean, there is so much blood in that movie. There is somebody with, how do you even describe her? Like almost all of her skin removed.
Yeah, it's like a flailing. Like, it's brutal, and it's brutal too because it takes religion in a different direction. A lot of people don't like to see it, talk about it.
Well, and the idea that I brought at the beginning of this, Martyrs has a lot to do with family too. I mean, it's two sisters in a dire, or they're treating each other as sisters basically in a dire situation, and coming into a house and controlling what they can. And Martyrs is just, it's tough to go into. And one of those things, I don't want to say too much if you've never seen it. And a lot of people haven't, because it can be semi tough to watch. Although I guess according to the comments, it's on Vudu or Tubi with commercials. Freevee, never even heard of that one, has Martyrs for free.
Freevee was IMDb TV. They changed their name.
Interesting.
It was on Shudder for a long time too.
Yes, and that was, gosh, I think that was September or August that they had the month where they had all of the French New Wave Extreme. That was a good month for that stuff, man. It was so nice to see stuff in HD. So after French New Wave Extreme, what is do you think it's time? Is it time we break into Serbian film?
We got one more sidestep. One more sidestep.
What do we got?
Cat 3.
Ah, touche.
What Well,
So
wrong
yeah,
one. No,
I
no,
was
no.
gonna say.
I grabbed the one Ron Unearthed Films release.
So we have Ebola syndrome, and then which one were you looking for? The
Untold Story. They both have
Untold
the
Story.
white
That's what I
sky.
thought. Wait, it's also basically the same film, Untold Story and Ebola syndrome.
A little bit different.
Obviously they're different, but Anthony Wong in both, and very similar plot lines.
Yeah,
Oddly,
the thing with Cat 3 is they go there where no one has really gone before in terms of how much you can stomach. They almost put it on their chest like this is a pride that this is the line we can't cross. We're going 100 yards over it. I mean, unless I just don't understand a lot about Hong Kong culture, I don't think a lot of it was political. I think a lot of it was just for fun, shocking entertainment. But Ebola syndrome and coming at the tail end of the pandemic that we've had,
yep.
that's a movie that makes you uncomfortable from frame one to the final bit. But
I'll throw in there too. One that was fun to watch during the pandemic was the brand new film The Sadness, because the whole first part of this movie is making fun of how government is handling a virus, and that movie did not stand back from the line either. That movie, like, I, I guess you don't call them zombies. One of the infected. Uh, let's see how to say this on YouTube without getting everybody pissed off. The most PG way I can say this, I guess, is skull fucks a woman.
yeah,
Yeah, it is so past the point for some of that. And the best thing about The Sadness is it starts like 4 minutes in. They have this nice little couple, waking up moment, and then it goes right into it when the guy sees that person across from the rooftop. And it is so nice to see a movie in 2022 not hold back on everything and still try a lot with good practical effects, but not go all in on CGI, because they
no.
really could have with that, and they did really damn well, I thought.
I'm actually kind of excited to see a lot of people in the comments and online like The Sadness.
Yeah.
Because based on what I was saying a while ago about how movies have become so kind of bland,
Yep.
I could see a lot of violent reaction to that movie because the violence is sexual. The virus creates a kind of a sexual urgency in these infected people. And that's just stuff that you don't see in movies today.
Right. And there is a lot in that movie that I could see pissing people off too, especially coming off the tail end of literally having millions of people die across the globe. And it's basically mocking that throughout the entire thing. So yeah, it's a really good story, and I think really well told in 2022.
Oh, in Ebola syndrome, Anthony Wan's running around coughing on things. I mean, how many Walmart videos do we see of someone not masking up, coughing on people because they think it's a damn joke? And I mean, Ebola syndrome, like I said, doesn't have any like deep roots into anything political or social or philosophical. But in this day and age, that movie is like, oh my God.
Right. And that's the thing with some of the Cat 3 that I will throw out now, is what makes me enjoy a lot of it is it's extreme, no doubt. However, they are not afraid to be silly in a lot of their films either.
Oh, there's a lot of comedy in those
There's
movies.
so much just joking around. I mean, look at Ricky O. That's like one of the funniest films to come out of the entire genre, and it's so damn over the top. I mean, the mud prison scene is wild.
Yeah,
Wild.
Spaghetti mentioned Dr. Lamb and Men Behind the Sun. Men Behind the Sun, I believe I've seen the fourth one, which is called Black Sun, the Nanking Massacre. That movie is brutal. Another terrible baby sequence in that movie.
Joy.
be
Men
like-
Behind the Sun, famously coming from Massacre Video for the last 4 years, and we'll probably either never see it or see it in 4 more years or something.
Yeah.
I can't wait until we have that in hand, because
Now, I would say Dr. Lamb and Untold Story, there's kind of an interesting foundation behind them since they are loosely based on true stories. So I think that's kind of an interesting footnote to extreme horror.
Yeah, there's quite a few of them that are at least either based on them or inspired by them, which is an interesting way to take it, because like the Unearthed Films has a line of films called Too Extreme for Mainstream, and they've gotten, God, I think they've put out 5 of them so far, And the first one was a film called Torment. And basically it's saying this is a film inspired by John Wayne Gacy. And it's a guy that dresses up like a clown. But that's like the only similarity. The whole film is this guy that dresses up like a clown just torturing the ever-living fuck out of this other dude. And we're talking like shoving a jar in his ass and stuff like that. It was not a fun watch. And there's not really much to get out of it, which is, again, why that is just shock cinema and not something artistic like some of the other stuff that we could actually talk about. So, yes, Cat 3, really great touching point. These shock cinemas are... some of them are good. They're at least well made, and a lot of them, I didn't say that either. I probably should. The line between something like torture porn and these shock cinemas, to me, a lot of these are made just to like highlight really great effects.
Yeah.
And something like Saw 2, people got really turned off by when Saw 2 and Saw, those were really the two main ones, I think. When they first came out, people were completely turned off thinking this is a massive gore fest. Saw 2 is just a really great primer on how to do really good practical effects. I mean, the needle scene alone, where they throw the girl into the pit, and the fact that they spent like 5 or 6 days on set taking out individual needles and putting little fiber optics into the front of these canisters, it shows how dedicated to something like this that they are. And unless you're going to go that far, it's really hard to get that point across in a way that's not shocking, to be honest.
Yeah. But, it's not like Saw 2... I wouldn't view that as any of these type of extreme movies that we've been highlighting at all.
No, but the people that are touchy to stuff like this, they certainly latched onto it like that at that time.
Oh, absolutely.
It's we'll say Saw and Saw 2 were possibly martyrs for the genre. That was a good pun. Okay, so I think it's time to get into it. Some of these have
one more big one.
Come on.
You know which one we cannot talk about extreme
right.
horror without Cannibal Holocaust. It's the granddaddy of them all. It's a movie that is still so shocking that when Joe Bob showed it, he likes to throw hints out of what they're showing. He's like, no, we're showing this. Be prepared.
Right.
And you're talking a movie 40 years still has that power that people actively say, no, I'm not watching that.
And one of the reasons is because some of the stuff in it is real. There are scenes of animal death that are real. I won't use the T word there and call it straight animal torture, but the animal deaths in this are done in a way that for some people it is shocking because they're not prepared for it unless they've heard the entire reputation. But the other shocking thing is, just like Blair Witch, this is a movie that was viewed as 100% real. This was viewed for a while. Like, literally, the director had to go argue that these were actors and let me prove it to you and bring them to trial so that you can see them. It is that type of realism that can cause the most shock because it can look like a snuff film.
Yeah, it's one of the few, I would say, extreme horror that has a cinema verite feeling to it. Maybe not so much in the first 45 minutes, but once they find the footage and start viewing it in their New York screening room, and you see it in a documentary fashion, it's uncanny, and it will never be replicated again for a few reasons. One is, I think we're too privy to what's staged, what's not. So I don't think you can really blur that line in cinema like Cannibal Holocaust did. Two, the ever-changing climate conditions in the Green Inferno aspects of the forests of South America. This movie will never be seen again like that. It's just changed. It's almost a product of its time, of a bygone world. And then some of the effects, I think, are still some of the better effects. I mean, it makes anything in Terrifier 2 look cartoony. And
that's the woman impaled on the pole.
I still don't know how they do that. I've read about it. I've seen it. I've listened to Diodato talk about it. And I look at pictures and I just don't understand how they did that.
There is a, I will never remember the company, but like 5 or 6 years ago, there was a company that put out a very detailed statue that was about 8 inches tall of that scene. And I've been dying to get it. But the only time that it ever pops up online for sale, it's like $500. And there's just no way that I could ever pay something like that for this little statue. But it is such a mind-blowing scene when you think about it, that this was just an actor playing a part and not some impaled person. And it really looks like that. It is so hard to imagine how Diodato was able to do that. And then we have filmmakers in 2022 using CGI to do the most tame, absolute bullshit takes that they don't need it for.
Yeah, and I think that's why Cannibal Holocaust is the film. Is even within the short-lived Italian cannibal film cycle, a lot of them were just films. They were shocking. They were gross. Cannibal Ferox comes close to Holocaust, but Holocaust just holds a power to this day. It's reminiscent a lot of wartime footage we've seen.
Dead Sea Life says, I think Hallmark put that statue out and then said it's an ornament. Oh, man. All right. So, yes, cannibal films, shocking in themselves, most of which is probably Cannibal Holocaust. The other thing that I think we would be remiss to not mention here is for those that don't want to get into the shocking side of it, I think it's a really great thing that a company like Grindhouse releasing, and now Air 4444 on their upcoming releases are giving a mention to some people that may not want to see this and allowing a no animal cruelty free version. I don't know what they're calling it. I'll just say cruelty free version, so that you just place a button on the menu, you click the button, and it plays the whole movie just with that little bit of torture removed, which is great. More people can see the film. It makes it a little less shocking, takes away some of the intent of the original film, but I am glad it's there. And I'll throw out, I'm sure that you probably have no reason to ever visit the website, but I've name dropped it here a couple times before, and I believe my wife is watching tonight. I will say that something that has helped us quite a bit is the website doesthedogdie.com. That sounds like a joke, but the actual website, doesthedogdie.com. You take that into your phone or whatever, you type in the name of the film, you bring it up, and there is a list of all kinds of things that could be in a film that could trigger somebody. There's mentions for kidnapping, for rape, for incest, for animal death, for animal cruelty, for ghosts, for racism. There's literally like 70 things on this list, and if there is, it will be checked with a yes and tell you what is in the film, so you can make the informed decision to watch it or not. And there's a couple times, like we watched a Franco movie, and gosh, which one was it? It was one of the ones Severn put out. I can't remember which one right now. It might have been Bloody Moon. And there's a part where a snake gets killed. And I went, damn, that looked pretty real. And my wife goes, that wasn't real, was it? Tell me it wasn't real. Looked it up. It turns out it was real. And it's because it was allowed back then to do that in that part of the world. And yeah, the website is great for stuff like this.
No comment.
Now is it time?
Okay, it's time. Let's talk about, I think, one of the granddaddies of extreme modern horror.
So I watched a Serbian film for just the second time last week. Literally, it was only the second time I'd ever seen it. My wife watched it with me, and I warned her beforehand, like, there's a couple scenes that are probably going to be pretty troubling. And we watched this entire thing. She stayed awake for the entire movie. Props to my wife, who that's not always an easy feat. And through this, I was prepared for her to be like, oh, God, this is rough. But I got to be honest, we finished it, and we both looked at each other and came to the same realization at the same moment that I think this was a lot less extreme than I remember it being. I don't know what it is, but this movie is good. Definitely a great movie. But the reputation is so much stronger than it deserves to be for this movie. But you basically worship at the feet. So give me your take.
I slightly disagree on that, because I think a lot of people come in and they put this shield on, like, this is extreme, I'll make it through type of thing. I'm not saying you and your wife did that, but I get that sense. You see that backlash when movies are everyone's talking, oh, you gotta go see this movie, you go see it, oh, it wasn't that good. I think that's a little bit of that, just a little bit of it. And I think because it's so well made, the shockiness almost has, it just is it's a watchable movie. It's not shot on video. It doesn't have terrible CG effects, to shock.
It's not terrible acting.
No, it's really good. I think it's a masterpiece. But I mean, that's just my personal opinion. But the intent of it, I think, is more horrific sometimes when you place the intent on top of the images.
So tell us about it.
Well, it's in
what was the intent, at least, behind it?
Well, it's in its name. It's not called anything else but a Serbian film. It's a statement on the country of Serbia and what it went through, what it kind of still going through. The director, well, you gotta understand, a little bit before Serbian Film was made in 2010, about 1999, they had a president that lied, got caught cheating out of funds. It was, it's kind of similar to our situation.
Classic love story.
A couple years ago. So, and the media also was in on it. They lied to the Serbian people. The economy tanked. It became a gig economy. It's a term for people picking up odd jobs just to survive. That's essentially what Milo does in this movie. For their financial stability, he has to go back to something he didn't want to go into, but the money was too good. And when you're a family man in dire straits, I mean, that's right there just relatable.
Yeah. So, first of all, do you view this as a protest film?
A little bit, yeah. Yeah, I do actually.
Yeah, I would too. What do you think is the reason for I'll say the two shocking film scenes that are in this that everybody always refers back to?
Yeah. Well, one thing is you got to understand the director's intent, what he meant for it, and whether you believe in it, whether you think it's BS, you got to have at least some empathetic feelings towards, okay, that's what he wanted. Okay. And the most notorious is the newborn sequence. Well,
first, do you want to give any details about what people see in that newborn sequence?
Will you get flagged on YouTube for wording?
You use elementary level words.
Well,
basically, a woman gives birth and a man immediately takes the baby and procreates with it.
Yes. PG friendly. It's been seen as you're just screwed from birth. Very maybe on the nose metaphor. It's a rough sequence, but a lot of people don't realize that you only hear it. You don't really see it. Ish.
Yeah. What about the second scene? You want to describe that one?
You're talking about the end sequence?
Yeah.
It's just the dissolvement of a family dynamic. When a government strangleholds its people for so long, you get music, art that are violently middle fingering it. And that's essentially what this film is. It's probably the most strongest statement for a debut anyone's ever had. And unfortunately, this poor director will probably never get much work after this. And it's because it's such a political statement against it. There was I believe a war around that time too, early 2000s, that was really violent. And because if you remember in the movie, they talk about one of the characters that they killed. Your husband was a war hero. So they're referencing all the stuff that was happening in Serbia from, I'd say, 95 to 2005.
Yeah, for sure. And that whole climax scene, that was a bad wording. The third act, when everything, I was going to say comes to a head. This doesn't get any better. When everything is revealed in that final scene, it is so, if you were watching like with intent in this film, it is sort of a gut punch for everybody involved. And to see all of that happen, it sucks. It just sucks because you're actually sympathetic to this main character, seeing how he's been taken advantage of. And then to have it end the way that it does in the house and find out that they're just still filming everything, it is just unabashedly grotesque to watch it being carried out this way. And it you really can't speak on it without talking about the political climate, because everybody is so much taking advantage of everybody in that situation.
It is, and it's a statement on the government's economy as well. The director of Volkmir, he obviously is a man of privilege, and he's exploiting people for his own financial gain. He's a capitalist. When the government was switching, when I can't even say half of these Serbian names, I do apologize for that. But when the president got arrested, it created a topsy-turviness. The economy tanked. Then it got a little bit better, but all it did was create these higher end people to create a capitalist vacuum for them to exploit the working class.
So the main question that people are going to ask then is, why does that mean let's film a movie where somebody fucks a baby? And
Well,
I mean,
I mean, sometimes you can't say these political things because it goes, I mean, in a kind of a normal sense, in one ear, out the other. How many times in the last couple of years people are like, I'm done with politics. I'm tired of it. Don't talk about it. But sometimes you got to create a shocking uppercut to your viewer. Hey, pay attention.
Well, and that answers the question right there, is how many of us right now could name who the Serbian president was in 1999, but we can name a Serbian film from 2010 and what it's about. The reason is this is shocking, and it has a reputation that is more lasting than the Serbian government was in 1999. And because of that, the message for this film, it probably didn't get across to all of the viewers, but it got out to so many more ears that more people could make an objective decision about it and realize, dude, something's got to be fucked up there for something to end up like this, that they are allowed to make a film like this. So you just have this education that is going out to hopefully millions, but probably not millions.
Well, Serbian Film owes a lot, I think, of its political nature to Pasolini's Salo.
100%, yeah.
Another real tough watch. Another, I mean, think about Pasolini. He was a very political figure in Italy, and I believe controversially might have been assassinated before this movie was even released in theaters.
Silent Mandible says, I can't believe I'm sort of being convinced to watch a Serbian film. I hope you do. And I don't mean that ironically. I think that this is something that people should pay attention to because, like I've shared in some of my interviews before, it is important to watch some of these films that bring you out of your comfort zone to understand what other people are dealing with. And if you are from any sort of privilege, which you could make an argument that if you're in the US, that alone is a state of privilege to be in compared to a lot of these countries, you are not able to branch out fully without being able to experience some of these other things. That is not saying that watching a Serbian film is going to be a realistic experience of somebody else's life, but metaphors exist for a reason. And as long as you are able to separate those two and understand and learn from it, you absolutely should see a Serbian film, as well as things like Necromantic, and as well as things like even Faces of Death. It's not something that was a protest film in any way, but it's a cultural touch point, and you can at least understand what the older generation was watching when they were about your age. Or, you know, like Salo, there's a whole scene dedicated to people eating shit, and yet it's an educational film if you watch it for the right reasons. I love discussions like this.
I mean, they're powerful films. I mean, Salo's on the Criterion Collection for a good reason.
Yeah. Thank you, Stan. Stan says a Serbian film pushes the limits, and that alone is why it's important.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you know, no two countries are the same, but the working class all go through the same crushing capitalism foot of a government. Terrible presidents. And this ain't being political. This ain't a left or a right-wing thing. This is just the status quo, unfortunately.
It's realistic.
In modern time.
Yeah. And that's any society that is capitalistic in nature is going to end up corrupted. Like, that is the definition of capitalism. It's to make more money than everyone else, basically, to mean you win. There's no other end game for it, which is sad. And when you think about it, the fact that we have people arguing against helping other people around us in the namesake of capitalism, it shows the depravity that exists in our country and in what you could be telling in our stories, which is objectively as horrifying as some of these extreme movies that we're talking about.
There's no time in modern history that the living wage from a billionaire to people like me and you, Ryan, has never been greater. Never been greater.
Right.
And it's only getting worse. And maybe we'll have an American film that will shake us out of something.
Anthony says repeatedly presses independent thought alarm. Oh man. All right. So now we've been talking about a lot of these other extreme films that we've not mentioned. Anybody else in the comments want to just shotgun some names out there, or even some scenes that might touch on extreme cinema, but the whole film doesn't? That's always fun to talk about. Any that while we were talking, you realized that we missed?
I got one. Antichrist
Shoot.
by Lars von Trier.
Ah, the famous Dick movie. Yeah, Antichrist is an interesting one. It's first of all, I love Willem Dafoe. Like, the dude is such a national treasure. He is such an incredible actor.
Yes.
Oh, how did I not bring up anything John Waters? I completely forgot. Pink Flamingos, says Ruben Villa. Another, or Villa could be the one. Another shit-eating film. Yes, Pink Flamingos. I watched that just a couple months ago after the Criterion disc came out, and I remember that one being better. I just did not like that one as much this time. But I will say, you could almost call most of John Waters' films extreme cinema in one way or another.
They are, especially his 70s and early 80s films. He's the king of the gutter. He almost took delight as a look at this, isn't it horrific? But had some social commentary to it.
Yeah. Mitchell brings up films that have actual sex in them, like Short Bus, or the Bunny Game is another one that's got a big reputation from that. Some of these, they've got that whole rape revenge, like empathy feel built into them, but then some of them are just made because why not? I mean, a lot of these films simulate it. Why not do it for real?
Yeah, I left off a lot of films that could have real sex, like Hard Gore from Massacre Video. It's a horror movie porno. It's so wild and just, I mean, if you're sheepish about porn, well, then don't watch it. But then you mix, 70s gore effects with the hardcore. It goes there. It's interesting.
Stan says, I think Multiple Maniacs is superior to Pink Flamingos, and nowadays I would agree completely. Speaking of some of these other ones, I believe one of the Gaspar Noé films has unsimulated blowjob or something like that in it. I don't remember, but I mean, that's another one that we could literally just name any of his films. Gaspar Noé pretty much lives in extreme cinema in one lane or another.
Yeah. Even the short films of Andy Warhol.
Touche.
I mean, granted, a lot of people here would probably not know about him or seen him. But he actually had one called A Blowjob and focused on the man's face as he was getting oral pleasure.
Yeah. John DeMarsco brings up Hanukkah. He's one that you absolutely could, especially his earliest stuff. John Stump says, not exactly extreme horror, but other very disturbing stuff. Visitor Q, sweet movie, of course, yes. Gaspar Noé stuff. That one you said was Love 3D. That's what I thought, yeah. I believe Love had a unsimulated blowjob in it. What is the other one I was about to say? We were talking about French Extreme, and he brought up Sweet Movie, which reminded me, one of the big ones from the 90s that was big for France as well was Man Bites Dog. A lot of people saw that as super extreme. And that's one I am dying to get that on a Blu-ray, or if I can't imagine how good a modern Criterion 4K would look of Man Bites Dog.
Yeah, that movie is something.
That it is basically a simulated documentary of a serial killer, and some of the callousness in that movie is hard to watch. That alone makes it extreme to me. Stan says Tetsuo. Tetsuo is great. You've seen Tetsuo, I'm sure, right?
Oh, I love it. Wouldn't consider it that extreme. I think the kinetic energy of the movie is something that we don't see in a lot of movies, but
it's overwhelming of the senses.
Yes, but I wouldn't say it's anything near Cannibal Holocaust or Salo.
No, it's really good body horror.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. I've been trying to think of some other ones, but man,
I think Takashi Miike has a few. Audition. Yeah. I actually think his short film Imprint from the Masters of Horror. I mean, that movie was so shocking. Showtime refused to show it.
Right.
And I think it's a rough watch. A lot of abortion scenes, torture scenes, impalement, acupuncture in places you shouldn't get needles.
Yeah. Takashi Miike is he's like one of the he's like the Jess Franco of extreme cinema in a sense, because he's done so many, and they all, not all of them, but so many of them skew towards that side. Ichi the Killer, definitely a good one. The body suspending scene and all that. Yeah, it's an interesting movie, that's for sure. Visitor Q, that's another one I have not seen in quite some time. And I'm still not sure if I've seen Sweet Movie. I know that I may have, but that's another one we don't have on Blu-ray yet either. A lot of these are still waiting on a good Blu-ray upgrade.
And that's disappointing. Like,
Yeah.
you have the ability to resurrect these movies, but I guess it all comes down to dollars and cents.
Dollar cents and elements for a lot of them, sadly. Ooh, good question from Terry. Would 70s era Hodorowski have some elements of extreme cinema in your opinion?
Possibly.
Certainly some elements for sure. I don't know that I'd call any of the films fully extreme, but certainly some elements. I mean, Santa Sangre alone has probably 3 or 4 scenes that would be close at least. And he's got some fantastical stuff in some of his other films that is just, it's an acid trip essentially.
I think another big, maybe someone might say, is the video nasty era of England.
Yeah.
But, I think 99% of those, maybe 98% of them were just, they're just misinterpreted gore films.
I can't reach my copy, but Stan Geezy keeps mentioning Thundercrack. He brought it up the other day as well. Yeah, that's one I could see being considered. And I just finally read John DeMarco's original comment. Vincent Gallo's Brown Bunny has an unsaturated BJ. And then he meant unsimulated. Oh, man. Silent Mandible, this is a good point, too. Some would say come and see. Apocalyptic, depressing films can be seen as some of that. Like Threads certainly could be seen as an example of that. Threads, come and see. Yeah, there's a few I'd lump in there with those. John says, I've seen almost all the things mentioned tonight, and Sweet Movie still might be the most fucked up I've sat through. If you think Sallow is bad with shit, prepare yourself a Sweet Movie. I'd say the same thing about Kuso. I watched that for the first time this year, and man, that is an odd movie, man. Have you seen Kuso yet?
No, I haven't.
It's on Shudder, and it's the one Flying Lotus, the musician, directed it, and it's one of those that is odd just to be odd, it feels like. I don't think there's many underlying political undertones or anything, because it's sort of an anthology film, which is really weird for something like this. But there's some odd scenes. And the movie starts, and within about 3 minutes, you're looking at just a massive amount of sperm, which is crazy to see in a movie like that. Stan says, how about Caligula? Maybe. At least some elements. If sleaze is an element, then yeah, it would certainly be up there.
Yeah, a lot of films, they inserted a lot of hardcore scenes.
Especially with Caligula, when they did it at night without telling the actors they were doing it with lookalikes.
Yeah. And, the way sex is treated in this country, I guess anything with sex is extreme. That
is very true. Terry says Kuso is a lot of fun. May say more about me than the movie. I mean, I'm so glad I watched it, but I certainly probably will not watch it again, sadly. I love that this comment just comes out of nowhere. Mitchell says, fisting, bestiality. Anything else about extreme cinema that you want to mention tonight?
I don't know what's left to say. I think we shot our wad on it.
I do want to say one more thing, and that is a word that we've not mentioned tonight, and that is judgment. I don't think there's any reason to judge people that watch stuff like that, because people get different things out of every movie. And just like I always say that every movie has been somebody's favorite movie, that includes stuff like a Serbian Film and Martyrs, and some of these are meaningful and important to people, and even though they may not be to you and you may see it as trash, they literally may see it as something that maybe it touches on something that affects them more personally because they've gone through a different experience than you have.
Absolutely. The judgment level on within the horror community for some of these certain films like Serbian Film and Cannibal Holocaust needs to stop. Like, my dad used to joke with me because I had books on serial killers. I had these movies. Oh, the FBI is coming for you. It's not like that. I couldn't be. I know a lot of these people don't know who I am, and it doesn't really matter. But I couldn't be the most. I could not be the most. I don't know how to say this. I'm the most upstanding person that I try to be. I hold doors open for old ladies. I raise 2 kids on my own. I help out my parents. I work hard. I mean, that's the thing a lot of people don't know is all this talk and all this movies we watch. I mean, I still work like 46 hours a week.
Yeah.
I vote. I try to be a good person. So what if I wear a Serbian Film shirt? Does that make me, a less of a person?
Dead Sea Life says, as you guys talk about a Serbian film, I'm editing the Serbian audio for SpongeBob SquarePants for Nickelodeon Serbia.
Amazing.
And this is kind of what a lot of these come down to, is what Stan just said. Fuck the Puritans. And in all reality, fuck them all. Because one thing I will wholeheartedly stand up against in any subject is, as long as it's legal, it should not be censored. No. As long as it's not being broadcast for children or anything like that, it should not be censored. Anything that is still being released cut is an embarrassment for humanity. We shouldn't be making judgment calls for that. Sure, warn people what's in a film, have that information readily available,
sure,
but fuck the Puritans.
See, I got a art degree, and so art history was a prominent component of that. So I'm used to discussing this type of stuff. So, so what if I seen Cannibal Holocaust and Serbian Film 10 or more times? I mean, does that make me any less of a human?
And the sad thing is that many people would say yes.
Yeah, so be it. Hey, feel free to follow me on Twitter, because I'm sure someone will say something.
Well, on that note, all of Jon's information is in the description below. Please give him a follow. He's a great follow. Post all of his reviews on Twitter. He's got great taste in films, and he's a smart guy, obviously, because he is a member of my Patreon and a member of the Discord. And if you are curious, I want to say thank you to all of these people for being patrons. And the link for that is in the description below. We have discussions like this literally all the damn time. That is not an understatement. We have somebody mentioned one in the comments earlier. Just the other day, we were talking about some film, and it might have been Dashcam that brought it up again.
Yeah,
and I said, I'm curious with everybody, what do you think about having a film where we have a wholly unlikable lead? Do you think society is ready for that? Because Dashcam, the response to that movie would say lots of people think no. They have to watch a film where they can like the person that they're being empathetic to. But those type of discussions go a long way to advancing your love for film, to advancing your appreciation for humanity. And this Discord is a really great place for it. Anthony wants to know, how are those Beyond Meat steak tips that you had?
Those were pretty good. I got to think of some new recipes for them, but they were pretty good.
I just saw at, I think it was Walmart the other day, they're selling Beyond Meat beef jerky now.
Yeah, it's real good. My kids love the hot and spicy ones.
Sounds amazing.
They really are.
If they get much further and cheaper, then I'm going to have to go vegan. Anyways.
Yeah, that's the problem is, I kind of cook mostly for myself, so it's a little bit easier than a family every night. But Dashcam, that's pretty interesting because at least in terms of extreme cinema, it's not. But the character is extreme, especially with their political beliefs. It will, I'd say, majority of people watch the movie jar you into hating her. I mean, it's very easy to. But it's almost comical and fun to see her go through all this shit in this movie and still kind of come out on the other end. It's real funny. I actually really like Dashcam, and I'm 100% 80 of that character in real life. So,
all right. I think that's all I got tonight. We're not getting any more comments about other extreme films. So thank you, everybody, for staying around for a conversation like this. I know it's not always super easy to discuss, but I think that it's nice to be able to have literally like education level discussions about some of these, because without it, the idea of protest cinema would not get out to the masses. The idea of standing up for what everybody believes in would not get out into the masses. If you've never seen a Serbian film or Martyrs or High Tension or August Underground, I recommend them. Go out there and stretch your limit at least a little bit. John, thanks for hanging out tonight. Thanks for being willing to be the voice and face of extreme cinema. And hopefully you'll come back on again soon.
Absolutely.
Thanks, everybody. Have a good night, and we'll see you next Thursday.